Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady coming to you with a weekly garden tour. I have been missing in action from YouTube and my garden because I have been so sick the last few days, and today's actually the first day that I have enough energy to even like stand up and walk outside. So I thought I'd take advantage of this moment and do a quick walkabout so you can all see how beautiful the garden is. Now we are in the middle, like third week of May, and I've just like reminded over and over again that I really don't need to have my open garden so early in the month because everything looks so amazing right now. And so I need to look at my 2023 calendar and shift the open garden to later in the year so that everybody can see it when it's really in its peak time. But let me turn this camera around and let's take a stroll. So the good news about being sick in May is that this is the view from where I like to sit on the couch, and I have not left the couch in like 3 days. I'm like starting season 3 of The Americans, and I just started it 2 days ago. But I have been looking out to this one unusual species of poppy, this bright red. This is Reese. And in recent years, I haven't been sowing it because it never has the same vigor as the somniferums, which you see are what the bees are all over. This one poppy makes me so happy. And I'm like, I absolutely have to buy more Reese seeds to sow next year because it's just different enough. It's a little bit more... you see the leaves are a little bit smaller and they're pointier, and the main difference is the way the bud looks. It's much more fuzzy, like it has all this pubescence on it, whereas if you look at the somniferum, it does not have that. So these are, completely hairless. I think growing both is a good idea. And look what I'm seeing here, my first Japanese beetle. I hate Japanese beetles, and I am not gonna let you eat that poppy. Sorry, y'all, if I gross you out, but I just squish them and drop them. The birds will eat them. There's so many different pollinators out here. I was just out trying to get pictures for Instagram, so I've also been failing at. There's like, big bumblebees. There's a million honeybees, and the honeybees are what are on the poppies. I can get that to focus. There we go. I mean, I can just stand here for, 5 minutes at a time taking videos of bees on the poppy flowers. I just think it's the most incredible thing. If you hear that, that's the resident bullfrog. He lives in this pond right here. He's very large, and I know this because the cats have been trying to catch him. And Cubby has caught him, but doesn't know what to do with him. I just ate some strawberries from this. It's the most extraordinary plant. Look at all these fruits. And they're so tasty. I mean, I love Chandler. That's the variety I had planted all over as a ground cover, but Snowy Belle, the fruits taste so good on the Snowy Belle. I have got to get more plants of this. It does frustrate me that it's not readily available. And I just wanted to show you this view, as I also see this from the couch, and seeing that mix of larkspur and cilantro blooming. I just think it's so pretty. Let me give you a close-up. So you can see the lettuce. This is the wildfire mix, is all starting to bolt, and I'm letting it do that on purpose. I'd like for it to self-sow. And then in here, see, this is the cilantro mixed with the larkspur. And of course, this is what the lettuce flowers look like. This border definitely has brought me a great deal of joy. Without hesitation, the kitties love being in the garden at this time of year. It's kind of like a savanna. They love to like burrow through the barley in the wave and leap and jump at pollinators. If you have cats, I definitely think you should grow grains. You can see they've made like little tunnels through. It's not as tall as I anticipated, and I'm rethinking this for next year because I'll have more open space on the next door property. So I'm just gonna think about how maybe need to give this bed a little bit of a rest because the plants look tired. One good thing about being sick, I've actually sat on the hammock for the first time like all year, and it's really pretty with the buckwheat that Aiden and I sowed back in the end of March. You can see it's all starting to flower, and it really is just the perfect low sort of living mulch, fill in the open space so I don't have to weed, and I think it looks really nice. The larkspur, or I'm sorry, the buckwheat mixed with poppies and rose campion. I learned this as lychnis. I think the botanical name has changed, and I'm probably not well enough to learn the new name. But this is a particularly pretty combination. All direct seeded. Not a lot going on in the north side border. Could desperately use some rain. We've been having thunderstorms, but not a drop of rain here. Once I'm well enough, I'm gonna be repotting all my large containers and moving them in different places. This spot here is proving to be really difficult to water, so it's not a very practical place. And these poppies that are in the shade did bloom, but I missed them. I probably missed a lot this week. Thing is, I was supposed to be out of town. This was my last weekend trip of travel for work, and I had to cancel, which I felt terrible about, but nobody wants me to show up sick and infect everyone. But it's the first time I've ever had to cancel an event. So there you have it. You can see these are champagne grapes growing in this pot. This is a crescent container, and lots of, I think these are the flowers. I don't think they've opened yet, but that's encouraging. I might actually get some champagne grapes. It's starting to take over. I'm a bit concerned it's gonna climb up through the tree, which is exactly what it's gonna do. I'm gonna try and train it down. That's not really what vines want to do. They want to climb up. They don't want to climb downward, but I'm going to try. And I wanted to show you along this fence line. Hi, puppy. You see how big the buckwheat is here. In full sun, buckwheat gets taller. Again, this was direct seeded the last week of March. And poppies in grow bags. Look at how great they are. They're planted directly in soil cube. The potatoes, they're not ready to be harvested, even though they're looking a little shaggy. They're just dry, and that's my fault. I have not drug a hose around at all. I haven't watered at all, and it's been in the mid-90s. I was literally just watching plants wilt yesterday from the couch, but I did not have the energy to get up. I'm really impressed with my volunteer tomatoes, and I am going to leave them because I actually have not yet seeded any tomatoes yet. I'm definitely now falling into the category of being behind, but that's okay. It's just part of it. You can see in this bed, the last round of broccoli that I planted is growing well. I need to be doing a better job keeping up with BT because the cabbage worms are off the chains at this stage, but I'm really happy to see that it's grown so well, and I should get some good harvests. and more arugula to be able to harvest. I do love how the arugula just self-sows. And look at how cute these mangaves are. I just love them so much. And I really love them with the barley in that pot all dried out. It's definitely time for me to start harvesting grains that are dried. Over to the grain experiment, I'm holding strong that is a Hulless Oats. That is definitely the winner of the grain experiment. I haven't done anything. So this is actually the first time I've held a cell phone in 4 days. Here's a good example of what lettuce looks like when you allow it to bolt. I really think the flowers are quite pretty, and the seeds will be abundant, and they will just sort of float around and self-sow, and that's precisely what I want to have happen. And this pot of barley is, I mean, it's really close to being completely dry. I could harvest it at this stage and it would dry out more. I think I'm gonna just give it a couple more days and it'll be completely dry. And this is barley that I can always save and replant, but my real goal was to put all the barley together and try and brew with it. So though I haven't been actively doing anything, I've been thinking of lots of jobs for me, and I am gonna give up this 100-gallon root pouch. I'm gonna plant this raspberry that's in a pot. See that? And you see it's like off color and it dries out really fast. I'm gonna go ahead and plant it into this and let this side just be all raspberries. You can see this is the same raspberry. This is one called Heritage, and it's growing in the 100-gallon root pouch, and it's completely colonized the entire thing. But it's a delicious raspberry. It's super fruitful. I mean, I get fruit on this for like 3 months. So I've decided I'm just gonna go ahead and let this side be for raspberries. Again, they're in 100-gallon root pouches grown in straight soil cube. I would not want to deal with that in the ground because it would spread absolutely everywhere. But if you're gonna grow a raspberry, they take space. That's the bottom line. So I think this is a pretty good approach to where you're not having to, fight them in the ground, but you're still able to grow them. I hope I'm not regretting this a year from now. I'm gonna pan over here because, the nice thing with doing poppies and larkspur together is the poppies, are relatively short bloom season, but the larkspur lasts a really long time, and it just is, I just think it's so beautiful. I love the different color combinations, and like I've said many times, this is seed that I've been collecting for 20 years, literally since 2002. And I won't tear any of this out until the seed is completely dry. And so I won't get my main summer plantings put in until like the middle to end of June. But that's the cycle for this. And I've leaned in and accepted that. And I don't see the point in growing these spring things and then pulling them out before they're finished, because psychologically you think you have to get your summer stuff in. You really don't, especially in warmer climates. I mean, I'm not giving advice for people in zone 5. Zone 7 is like being on Mars compared to where you live. But for people in zone 6 through 8, you don't have to have your tomatoes planted right now. I promise the growing season is long enough. So you can really enjoy these plants and let the seeds ripen. Then you don't have to buy the seed, and you know that your plants will be strong. But if you rip them out at this stage, you're not going to get any viable seed, so it defeats the purpose. Remember, leave your poppy pods alone. They are not ripe. Don't do anything to them at this stage. Just let them be. I promise that I will absolutely show you exactly how to harvest all the seed when the timing is correct. But look, I'm bursting at the seams to plant for summer. It's a thing. But again, let your seeds dry. Now, actually, here's a great opportunity for me to show you the difference. Not ripe, ripe. You see how it's beige and it has these little openings, and then the seed will actually fall out. See, there it is. Now these aren't completely dry because they're not like hard, but this is, you wouldn't harvest the seed at any earlier of a stage. And you can see how there's only a few. There's one big plant. This was the first plant to flower. It was a direct sown or self-seeded in my walkway. You see how ugly the plant is. The whole thing is brown. That's what it has to look like in order for you to collect the seed. And there's the seed. And I'm just gonna go ahead and toss that seed right back down. So next year, I'm guaranteed that I will have some growing in this pathway. Back here, I just wanted to show the birds have been really cute on these kale seed pods. You know, they land and they nibble on the seeds. You can see some that are like they're ripe and they're split open, and the birds are just eating all of it. The Schultzia California poppies they just keep on going. They're so beautiful. I love them so much. Yeah, this is a particularly bright corner. I'm really anxious to get the pool clean, and the only way to do that and keep it clean is to remove the mustard, because the flowers are landing in here and it's making it super messy. I don't know if I have the capacity to do it today, but this is my nomier 1 priority. I want to get this bed cleaned up. And I've actually been really amazed at how many garlics are just now putting out their scapes or their flower stalks. And remember, you got to remove that in order for the energy of the plant to go back into the bulb and not going into flowering and setting seed. These are going to be really good garlics because they're really bulky. Again, just a few more weeks on these. You can see they're starting to die back from the tips, but you wait basically until the entire plant is super ugly. But now is definitely the time to be paying attention. Make sure you're getting all those flower scapes off. I'm really amazed at how many there are. I thought that I had gotten them all, but obviously not. Some of these, actually, I see what's going on. Look, this one, I had already taken a scape off, and then no, that's a different plant. Never mind. I was like, are they double blooming? But no, they're not. So they're just, I don't know whether these are different varieties. I know I've mentioned this before. I don't do a good job of keeping track of different cultivars. I just kind of plant them all. I harvest them all, and then what doesn't get eaten gets planted again. So most of this is music because that's the variety I've been growing the most of. But, you know, every now and again there's other stuff mixed in. You can see how big these scapes are. I mean, they're really lush and delicious. My hands are gonna smell good. I don't have any taste, but I will definitely process these and freeze them to be able to use in soups and salads, and salsas. Again, the flower scapes are really tasty. For people who have issues eating garlic but like the flavor, this doesn't have the same enzyme as the bulb, so you can get the flavor of garlic without the stomach upset. One plant combination that I did want to showcase here is the Asclepias tuberosa mixed with larkspur and of course that Ms. America mustard. I love this combo. I really like the purple and orange together. And of course, Asclepias tuberosa, this is milkweed, and it's an important source of food for monarch caterpillars. And I've only seen one monarch, and I was on the couch and did not have the capacity to get up and chase it. But I'm hoping that the monarchs will come and start laying eggs, and soon we'll have caterpillars. It might be a little early. Usually monarchs are a little bit later here, but fingers crossed, sooner than later. And the Nigella in this relatively shady area is doing quite well. It's pushed back in funny ways because I've been having to run sprinklers. Well, I haven't the last couple of days, but It's very dry. It's very, very dry. We haven't gotten any rain. This is a better example of where the birds have been eating the kale seed. You see, these plants are enormous. You know, they were planted last fall, and you see all the seed pods on them. And I would likely come out, if I wasn't sick, I would start cleaning this stuff up. But you know what? I'm just letting it go because I'm too sick to come out and do labor. There's no way that I would have the endurance. So I'm just going to enjoy it. I personally I think this is like the most beautiful color and texture combination. This is what I love so much about these spring borders, is you get these little vignettes that are sort of unexpected and things that you wouldn't always see together, like carrot, nigella, larkspur, kale, poppies. I think the carrot flowers really add a lot to it, and they're really nice cuts. And you know, every now and again you'll get one that's just truly magnificent. I mean, look at that. It really does look like a crown. Of course, pollinators go nuts. Oh, I see another garlic scape. You see how it looks like a curly pigtail? Get that off. Even the small ones, you know, these are much smaller than the ones planted over by the feed tank. But if you remove this, I promise you will end up getting a decent sized garlic bulb. But removing this is the critical component. Walk back here. Oh, I'll give you a moment of zen with some honeybees. Well, I will admit that I was nervous that these poppies wouldn't bloom in time, and I've been getting tons of comments like, my poppies aren't blooming yet, and I want to plant my summer stuff. And I'm like, no, wait, they will flower. I promise you they will flower. And it's actually quite nice to have this staggered bloom, because most of the ones out front that I sowed on Black Friday are finished. But you can see now this border that was sown on January 2nd is just really starting to come into bloom. And that's great, because that means that I can still come outside and enjoy the poppies. Down through here, again, if I was feeling better, I would have already limbed this sycamore up, because I don't need these low branches, and I don't really need this area to be full shade. But I'm really impressed with how the poppies are blooming despite the low light conditions. And you can see the bees are here. There's nowhere that you can't find honeybees in this garden right now. It's just the most amazing thing. I think that's reason enough to grow poppies. But remember, none of these seeds are ripe. You've got to let them ripen. So, you know, for me, the point of growing these is just as much to have the flowers as it is to have the seed. And so I have many weeks still before any of this gets removed. But I promise you, you tune into my videos all summer long, you'll see that the summer garden will absolutely grow. It doesn't matter that it gets planted a month later than everybody else. The plants will catch up. Now, that might not be the case for people in cold climates, as I've mentioned, but certainly for zones 6 through 8, you do not have to be in a race against time to get your summer stuff in. I would not sacrifice the beauty of this border so that I could plant tomatoes and peppers and eggplants. I'm gonna just go ahead and say I'm gonna take beauty over bounty, because those summer plants are actually a lot of work, and I'm gonna lean into enjoying these spectacular flowers and all the pollinators. And over to my work area, I have to show you how amazing the poppies that were grown directly in the bags of soil cube look. Look at all those blooms, look at all the pollinators. This is the easiest way, hands down the easiest way. If you're struggling with growing poppies, you live in the lower 48 states, you can buy these cubic foot bags of soil cube. And again, this was done last fall, so you're not sowing poppies at this stage, but keep this in mind. I am over the moon happy with how this turned out. And, you know, I just imagine people who live in condos or apartments or townhomes that don't have a lot of space, but maybe have a patio, even a shady patio, because where these are has not really gotten all that much direct sun because the fence has prevented it. Yeah, without hesitation, first time beginning poppy growers, this is what I'd recommend. And they're totally movable. They do have to be watered because, again, we haven't had any rain in so long. So I'm about to turn on a sprinkler and hit the easy button. And hopefully I will have enough energy today to just keep moving the sprinklers around. It's going up into the mid-90s, and though there are thunderstorms in the forecast, so far we haven't gotten any thunderstorms, so I'm not going to trust it. And I didn't water anything yesterday, so there we have it. Time to run some sprinklers. And as you can see here, I am set up to do some replanting for the summer season. I am gonna transplant the containers. They just pull right out, but I want to make sure that I get these palms planted. And I have seen swallowtails coming around and hopefully laying eggs on this parsley, so I'm not gonna discard it. I'm just gonna transplant it somewhere else in the garden. And I'm gonna do a tomato, a coleus, and a plectranthus in each of these pots. And when I start feeling better, maybe today, probably not, it is time to harvest all of the wall. And the reason this dried out so fast is because I turned the irrigation off last week. So that's the critical component. When you are growing in containers, you have a little bit more control over being able to dry things out. And the process for harvesting is really simple. You literally are just gonna pluck it off the stem. And so I will save all of these, and then ultimately they'll be threshed and winnowed. And then all of the barley stalks and the soil that they're growing in, I'm just gonna throw those in an area where they can decompose in place, and then I'll ultimately be able to plant in them. It's ideal organic matter. I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. I have a feeling I did. But I do look forward to giving you another update next week, when hopefully I will be back to normal and will have gotten more accomplished. And in the meantime, I hope that you all stay healthy and happy and enjoy your gardens to the fullest. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.